All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of the Evolutionary Instinct Podcast. Today, guys, I'm here joined with my co-host, Felipe Daza, Evolutionary Instinct crew in the house. We're going to be talking about the topic of persuasion today, the topic of influence, and the power of concentration. And me and Felipe have a lot to share with you guys today, so I'm going to pass it off to Felipe and let you take over here, brother. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Well, I want to start this with the power of concentration. So maybe you're watching this podcast right now, and it's gonna take a little bit of concentration for you, to lock in, to watch this, to listen this, to listen to this. These podcasts are usually, last like an hour, 2 hours. It's kind of long form content, which nowadays we live in a society where we're so consumed by the short term, by the short form content and short term dopamine, and it's just like it's so hard for now for people to even sit for like an hour, like even 30 minutes to just like get some information that's actually gonna change their life. It's like, unless it's entertainment, because if it's entertainment, it's a kind of long form content, more people are more willing to watch it because it hits their dopamine. But this kind of content that's a little bit more dense, it's for a specific person that actually wants to change, is willing to put in the work, that concentration, right? To
Yeah.
actually get something out of it. And I want to really talk about how can you become better at this thing, concentration. How can you really become a powerful person by having this ability to concentrate, which is going to be one of the greatest skills, I think, to have as a person. I think in the next years and so on, with so much dopamine going on and whatnot, and competing with the AI, I think now more than ever, people need to concentrate and be able to sit down and actually, be able to move the needle and do tasks that are actually, getting things accomplished, not things that are not really, they're beating around the bush. So I know a lot of people like lack concentration. It happens to me too, and it happens. It's like you get a little lost with the whole, scrolling and watching all this short form content, and you kind of want to watch these videos. Maybe you see a title of a video and it's
Yeah.
a long content. You don't want to watch it all, but your brain, like you try, and then 10 minutes pass, and you just want to like
Just
skip
getting
it.
pulled into the
Right, you're
algorithm,
getting
right?
pulled on. You're like, I need to
Reels,
watch
TikTok, all
something
that shit.
else,
Yeah.
right? And it's like it's not good for you because you can't concentrate. Then you get lost doing this, and then
Yeah.
when it actually comes, like, and that translates into your actual life, into everything else, right? Relationships, making money, right now in your job, like all of that's gonna translate in how you come off across. It's like this like horrible thing that's actually like making you like a little dopamine monkey, right? Is you're losing power, and you need to be able to concentrate because you're going to be able to learn a lot more. For example, like, you know, if you buy a course, or if you bought a course before, a lot of people, the reason they don't succeed through them, it's not because, they're getting scammed, but it's a lot of times because they're not sitting down and actually doing the work. They maybe get the dopamine of, like, you buy the course and you feel like you changed your life. You get that dopamine hit. Like, I finally made a life-changing, life-changing decision. But then
Yeah.
that's like, like, dude, that's just the beginning, right? Like, you need to actually be able to sit down for a couple hours and like think, right? And actually like exercise that muscle that you might not use every day, right? This is why I think things like reading are very important, because maybe not so much about the information, because I mean, you only retain so much. Although there's great books out there, right? You should be reading every day,
Taking in the information, actually applying it. It's the
right?
application of it which requires energy and effort, which most people aren't willing to do, right?
Right. But reading alone is just, it helps you like actually
Yeah.
like be able to just turn everything off and focus on one thing, right? And be able
It's
to read a
powerful.
piece of information and actually give your brain some, some thought and process, and something that you have to use, right? And
Yeah.
that's what's gonna take you ahead of a lot of people, right? That's what helped me to break free from, like, working a 9 to 5 and be able to build a business, right? Like, I was
Yeah.
able to sit down and actually do like the acid duty, the work that no one really wants to do, because it just doesn't give you that dopamine hit, right? Like,
Yeah.
down, you're like, ah, like your brain wants to like literally. I still remember myself, and sometimes it happens where like you sit down and your brain just like first thing starts making excuses, or wants to go, do something else to feel good, and you just don't do the work, and then and then you waste a bunch of time, and you're like, holy shit, where did my time just go, right? But if you just sit down and do the work, you'll notice, even though your brain might feel like you're not accomplishing as much at the time, because you're not getting the dopamine hit. So your brain you have trained your brain to think that when you don't get that dopamine hit, you're actually not accomplishing anything, So then you start doing all these different things, and I thought you're doing so many more different things. You're actually doing less. And so the whole point of concentration is creating force within your life, right? If you want to
Yeah.
spiral and create momentum in your life to win, right? To create success, to build a business, where everything just you just can't stop winning. You're like, oh my God, right? Like it's just win after win after win. It just feels like it's effortless. You do that by, first by having force, by creating force. And how you create force? Well, you do it by things like having concentration and being able to get things going, certain actions that right now might feel very forceful. That's why I call it force, because right now you kind of have to force yourself. Like it's like, oh, you really don't want to do it, but the more you do it, the more like momentum you grab into it, the more you ace into it, and the easier it gets, and they just become second nature because
Hmm.
you're it's like a computer. So once you've done it enough times, that action that is going to help you build that business, right? Maybe it's like, let's say you have to do outreach, call outreach to certain clients or like certain boring tasks. But the more you do it, the more second nature it becomes. And it honestly becomes like autopilot doing this
Hmm.
task. It becomes effortless. And so making a business going from zero to $10,000 a month or even $50,000 a month becomes effortless because you already know the actions that you have to take. And it becomes effortless because you've done it so many times. You can literally basically do it on autopilot. And it's like now you have this momentum and now
Yep.
you have power. And now every move you make is more impactful. And the move that you actually make are actually, it might not seem like a lot, but they actually have a lot more effect if whether like instead of like just like doing all this random stuff. So that's how I want to start like having that, force versus power, which I know there's a book about it and it's really, really good and kind of talked about it. I'm just kind of touching into it. But looking back, I'm like, oh my God, that makes
What
so
is that book, by the way?
it's
That book
called,
that
I'm pretty sure it's called Force versus Power.
Force versus Power. Okay.
Really good. Really
I
good.
absolutely agree with you, man. It's the power of momentum, right? Once you set things into motion, it becomes second nature, right? But you have to put in that initial effort of first setting
Yes.
into motion that thing, right? Like for someone to go from 0 to 10K a month, they have to set into motion and make second nature a certain set of actions they take every day. Like you said, outreach, for example, right? You got your landing page, you got your business, you got your offer, you got everything put together. Now you have to actually put in the grunt work of doing outreach every day, but how many people actually have the consistency to do it every single day in and day out, do it
And it's the
every
same thing with
single day?
social
They don't.
interactions. Same thing with social interactions, right?
Yeah.
Like most people are, they don't want to go and cold approach, and this is why
Yep.
cold approach is good, right? Like, like when you start building systems, of course, down the line, like doing cold approach, right? You can waste a lot of time doing cold approach, right? But that's why you build systems. But the reason why cold approach is so good is because it gets you into these habits. It's just kind of second nature. So when you're in an environment, wherever environment that might be, it's just second nature. You just do it, it's not autopilot. You're not making excuses. I'm like, oh, should I approach that person? No, you just kind of do it. And meeting people is effortless. You just go
Yes.
approach. You
It
just go and
comes
try.
down to the operator at the end of the day. What do I mean by that? Is the person doing cold approach. So cold approach is powerful, and you're absolutely right, Felipe. You can waste a lot of time with cold approach if you don't actually do it, right? But if you're out, so this is the number one thing I tell a lot of guys that are working on improving their social skills. We're working on being able to connect with women, connect with people, overcome social anxiety, is from this, let's just say you're out from 9 p.m. to like 1 a.m. Okay, from this period of time you're out, 4 or 5 hours you're out, how much of that time is actually spent in a social interaction? That's how you can measure your level of improvement in something. A lot of people say, oh, I'm out for 5, 6 hours every weekend and I don't see shit. But like, how many of those hours are actually spent in conversation with people?
Right.
Measure that because you improve only from the level of action and the effort that you put in. So, like you said, you can either be in an excuse making momentum or it can be in an action taking momentum. When you make it a regular habit, like we see in boot camp every day, like we have an upcoming boot camp, and one of the biggest things is putting people into the habit of seeing how normal it is to talk to people on a regular basis. We're social creatures, we're human beings, we like to connect with other people. And from being in environments where there's people socializing, you can easily socialize, talk to someone, and actually begin a relationship. As simple as, hi, hello, how is your day going? Great.
I have
You
to
know, how did
force
you
it.
hear about this event? Oh, great, that's cool. Boom, and the conversation starts, and then you get into your story, and she gets into her story, and there's a back and forth. That's a man to woman relationship. There's a man to man relationship. Oh, what do you do? Oh, this is what I do. Oh, shit, really? Okay, cool. Well, here's my information. Here's my LinkedIn. Here's my phone number. If you need help with this, boom. Connections can get established anywhere, anytime, any place, but people don't realize it. However, on my path, or any person who's overcoming social anxiety, overcoming any sort of limitation, they force themselves to do something. And in the process of doing that thing, it becomes a non-negotiable. It becomes second nature, right?
Yeah,
So the highest level people that I know, for example, I work in B2B software sales at like enterprise level, and I work with, content creators and individual entrepreneurs as well. And, like I do both. And in the process, the guys that are killing it, they have certain things they do on a non-negotiable basis. For example, going to the gym 3 times a week. For some people, it's a non-negotiable. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do this thing regardless of how I feel. And when they do it, they feel amazing, right? When did you ever regret going to the gym? When did you ever regret making an approach? If you make an approach and it doesn't go well, you learn from that experience. The learning makes it worthwhile. So, um, the biggest thing, we've talked about this before in previous episodes as well, is you get to a position in the process of, for example, learning how to communicate effectively, learning how to network effectively. You learn how to be able to start a conversation with anyone, anywhere, really at any point, at any time, period. And you do this by simply feeling good and sharing that experience and starting a conversation and having a good time with someone and potentially creating value exchange opportunities, right? And when you're in that position where you have this power to talk to anyone anywhere, you realize all doors can be accessible to you simply from your power of overcoming this feeling of like, oh, stranger, I can't talk to this person. Oh, I can't do this thing. But yes, you can. If you actually take action, if you actually do go, if you see someone, go fucking approach. If you see an attractive girl, go approach. It should hurt more not taking action than taking action and getting rejected. And that's the point I got when I was overcoming social anxiety. I was like, you know what? I'm going to approach every single person and I'm going to start a conversation. And my goal simply is, and this is how I justified it for myself. I'm going to make the person I talk to feel better they did after talking to me than if they didn't talk to me. You see what I mean? I'm going to make every single person that talks to me or interacts with me feel better than they did or would otherwise. So I'm going to go out spreading good energy and making the people around me feel good, right? In the process of doing this, I got two things. One, I made someone else's life better, which made me feel better. And two, I overcame my social anxiety of putting myself in a situation where I'm talking to someone. And as I did this, it became so easy and it became so second nature that now I don't even think about it. I've talked to so many beautiful women that talking to beautiful women is no longer a big deal. And I can talk to someone and see who they are beyond the physicality of the superficial elements. And I require more. And as such, I'm not, fooled by a woman's looks, or I'm not fooled by who someone portrays themselves to be. I actually communicate to the individual and I connect to them, right? And one of the biggest things of today's episode that I wanted to really talk on is like, part of persuasion, influence, and the power of concentration is this likability factor, and that falls under persuasion, and we kind of had a conversation before this off camera, but I kind of want to know some of your thoughts, Felipe, when it comes to persuasion, this likability factor and this ability to connect with people. Do you have anything to share on that? Like, creating likability, creating rapport, like creating these sorts of opportunities and conversation. Do you have anything to share on that?
yeah, I do. I think in order to be very persuasive and likable, and I do want to clarify this though, like just because just because you're trying to be likable with someone doesn't mean you're like trying to be like best friends or like because you know what I'm saying because like you
Yes.
have this is the thing I feel like a lot of people mistake when it comes to like trying to be likable. It's like they might have certain belief systems or opinions that they're very strong about, and so they
Hmm.
meet that person who maybe they feel different, and instead of just like understanding where they're coming from and just kind of like be on their team, kind of, which I understand. They're just kind of like, but they become like this opposing force to that person, and then it turns to like, oh, I don't like that person, instead of just being a likable person, right? Like if I see someone they have different views, I'm not automatically like, oh, you suck. I'm just like, you know what? I'm likable, right? Like I'm just like, I talk to them, I let them explain me why they believe what they do, right?
Hmm.
Depending on the type of relationship that I'm trying to build with them, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to disclose your entire beliefs on them. You know what I'm saying? You
I
can have
agree.
different like levels of like, relationship that you have with that
Yes.
person. You know what I'm
I
saying?
know
Like,
exactly what you
you
mean,
know what
Felipe,
I'm
because I
saying?
noticed that level of maturity in the conversation with you is like, even though like we share a lot of similar values, some things we may differ on, but it's not like,
Yeah.
it's not like do or nothing like for you, for
All right.
example, if this doesn't align. It's like you get it. You have an open mind to see where I'm coming from, and I have an open mind to see where you're coming from. And at the end of it, it's like it's exactly that. It's not so much black and white. It's like there's differentiations, and like there's an understanding involved. There's an open-mindedness when you're interacting with someone to know, okay, sure. But you can actually see from their perspective, and like there's a lot of power in being able to look at something from the other person's perspective that allows you to be able to understand them better and persuade them better, right? So like, I talk with all kinds of people with all kinds of backgrounds on a regular basis because what I do is sales and I talk to people all day, right? And I do coaching and I talk to all kinds of people all day, right? So I can adapt to various personality types and I can find common ground, right? Where from their point of view, they're saying the same thing I'm saying from my point of view. We're
Right.
saying the same thing, but it's being able to connect that and not be like, oh, this is me versus you. It's like, bro, we're saying the same
Right.
thing, but we're coming from different perspectives. You see what I'm saying? But we're really coming to from the same perspective at the end of the day, right?
No, very well put. It's kind of like you're kind of like a chameleon and you have different parts of you, but you're able
You
to
can
adapt
adapt.
of you,
Adaptation is the biggest
adapt
thing.
to,
Yeah,
right? That part of you to whoever you're speaking to. So you can speak more to that person, to that, specific, person that you're talking to. So,
that persona. Yeah,
right, right. So you can be in the environment, like have to be like this fighting force, right? You're not
yeah,
here to change their beliefs if they don't want to, right? You're okay with their beliefs. You're like, it's okay, right? Like I
yes,
like you for you. You have your beliefs, but you're not gonna, oh, you don't like me. You don't like what I like. Oh my God. Like I've
yeah,
met like
yeah.
personally, like, game, you're gonna meet a lot of girls that, maybe you think they're delusional or whatever, or they believe certain things that you don't agree with. I'm not automatically there, especially if we're out, partying, whatever, trying to like tell them, no, don't believe that, and trying to, because
Yeah.
there's gonna be argument, and if it's gonna create problems, no, I'm just gonna have fun with them. I'm like,
And
good
be
for
non-judgmental.
you. Right,
Appreciate each person for what they are, right? And understand the areas where we have common ground, we can enjoy that experience. And the areas where we don't, right? But I have the maturity level to not try to be combative, not try to
right,
create problems. And as I enjoy the experience, enjoy the time, have fun, as you always say, right?
right,
It's like if I look at an eagle flies. I'm gonna appreciate the eagle for flying and doing what an eagle does. I'm not gonna try and judge the eagle for being a fucking shark for swimming deep water. That's not what you're made to do, right? So I'm gonna see and respect the differences. You can actually appreciate people, even though they're not the exact same as you. You can appreciate the differences and find common ground. Like I'm a lion, you're an eagle. But like, you know what? We both enjoy hunting. So I come from the
right,
perspective of land hunting, come from the perspective of air hunting. Bro, that's so cool. Tell me more. What can I learn from you and what can you learn from me? And like, that's where we can, have value exchange. So that's just an analogy as when you're interacting with different people, seeing like, okay, they might not be in sales, but they're just as driven as you are in their given line of work. They have different objectives, but you're both driven towards your objectives. And you can speak to each other from different perspectives and learn from each other. So why combat and be like, oh, it's me versus you versus we can
right,
collaborate and learn from each other, right? It's a different perspective. And when you come from that perspective and you can really allow people to feel heard and to feel appreciated and seen, like there's a certain level of, you know, likability that comes from someone that's
right,
like willing to hear you out. The most persuasive people I've ever come across in life, Felipe, have been people that have been great listeners. They don't talk much, but they listen very well and you feel acknowledged.
right.
So it's very interesting
Right. And they know how to speak to your pain points, and they know how to speak to your interests, and know how to, provide a solution or
because they
speak to that
listened well.
person that inner you, just because they hear you and they don't
Yeah.
understand, can put themselves in your shoes and are not very judgmental, which something that's helped me in my life not be judgmental. Huge. right? It's actually, I believe I read it on the book from like How to Make Friends and influence people.
Dale Carnegie, such a
Yeah,
powerful book.
I think it was that book. He gives one example of I think it was like who was it was one of the presidents and the generals, and I think one of his generals like ended up like they did something wrong, they fucked up.
Wait, what
Um
are you talking about? Because I want to make sure it's clear.
yeah, yep. So
Generals of what?
of the US Army, right?
Okay,
And
so this was a story giving,
yep, it's a
like, it was an
story
analogy given
given,
in
yep,
that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People
right.
by Dale Carnegie, right?
Right, correct. So essentially, I believe this is with George Washington, and it was an important, crucial part of the war. And apparently, one of his generals, I don't remember quite the story, but essentially, one of his generals did something. It retreated. It retreated from one of the battles when
Right,
they shouldn't have, and the all the other generals were essentially shaming that one general,
right,
right?
right.
And they were like, George Washington, you need to like, this guy's a traitor, whatever. Like, you should like ban him or whatever, right? Like, essentially, like this guy is like not for his country. And George Washington was like, I'm not gonna judge this man because if I would have been in his situation during that time, being the man that he is, I would have probably done the same. It's easy to sit here as a general on looking at the map, saying, yeah, the obvious decision was to maybe, stay put during that battle. But maybe, who knows? Maybe during that battle, like, and from his point of view, during that general's point of view, the battle looked hopeless,
A
right?
momentary decision needed to be made for the best interest of everyone in that moment. So what you're saying is there was like another person in this storyline, George Washington, they ended up retreating. One of the people in the battlefield was saying, made the decision to retreat, and they were all saying, "Hey, why the fuck did you retreat?" And George Washington saying, "Hey, like, listen, if I was in that position, I actually would probably do the same thing because it's easy for us to judge from here behind the fucking battlegrounds
Right,
making this decision, but the person that's actually there sees it differently.
right,
Did I get
exactly.
that correctly?
Yeah, because that person in the battleground, guess what? They're smelling, hearing,
Yeah.
seeing total different
The
things.
PTSD, people
They're,
getting fucking
right,
blown up in front of them. Yep. Yep.
right. They're gonna impact your decision making.
Right. Then what
You know what
happened?
I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's easier to judge someone from the outside, but when you're actually in a
In
situation,
it, doing
right,
it.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
totally different. So yeah, maybe their actions, in overall for the war were bad, and he shouldn't have done that. But given his situation, he did what thought it was best because he didn't
Yeah.
know best. You know what I'm saying? So being able to put yourself in a situation kind of like that, it's like understandable. So
Yeah.
I'll give you a more, I guess, more current example that everyone can relate to, and it happens all the time. For example, when you're driving and let's say there's someone in front of you and they're driving really slow, right? Like speed limit is
Yeah.
like 35 and they're driving 30 and it's easily to get angry at them. Like, yo, why are you driving this slow? And you get angry and you're like, what the, you know what I'm saying? You want to go flip him off. And
Yeah.
that's your naturally you want to do that. But sometimes, I sit back and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I would be driving this slow. Who knows? Who knows that person maybe is injured. Maybe, it is usually like an old person. Okay, maybe if I was that old, like it's easy to say no.
Yeah.
If I
You're
get that old,
processing the world
right?
differently in that point.
Right?
You're old. You're fucking nice.
So
Yeah.
like it's a lot of people are like, no, if I was that old, I would never drive
Yeah.
like that. And it's easy to say that, but if you're
Yeah.
that old, who knows? You probably wouldn't. Maybe you would be slower.
Bro, just today I was on the highway. I was like, who the fuck is this person? When you drive and like you look at someone to see as if they're as stupid as they look, as stupid as they drive, and I walk by, I see like a senile person. I'm like, oh shit, that
Yeah,
could have been my grandfather. That could have been
yeah.
my grandmother.
Okay,
I
I'm so
feel
glad you brought
bad
that up.
now. You know what
I'm
I mean?
so glad you
And
brought
then
that
you're
up.
more understanding and you move forward without being mad at the
Dude,
person. Just go on with your life, right?
dude, that's huge because that actually gave me okay. So something I actually like to put in perspective all the time. Like I remember one time I got I got like kind of judgmental, like angry at like this one like older lady, right? Um, and I was like, what the fuck? Right? And I was like so annoyed. But then I'm like, I thought about my mom. And I'm like, well, what if that was my mom? Would I be so judgmental of her? Or would I accept for who she is and the way she, whatever she just did and love her regardless? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
I think I was very, like, I thought about that. I was like, damn, that's really powerful. Because it's so easily to judge. That's why I think it's in the Bible. It's like love others like their own, like, say, like,
Love
love everyone
others
like your
like you with
brother,
your own kind of thing. Yeah,
like
exactly.
your own. So I'm like, if
Yeah.
that was my mom, I would probably not be so angry at that lady or so, or like, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of like, I'm able to also, see myself kind of in her, like my mom in her. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay. Right. And I just kind of let it go. Because if that was my mom, right? Like everyone, it's easy to judge them like, oh, that lady's so stubborn. Well, my mom's stubborn. I still love her.
Yeah.
And I would forgive her for whatever she did.
Yeah,
I kind of
exactly.
view that like that. I think that makes you very likable, being able to do that. Understand people, because a lot of people you're gonna meet in your life, they're very stubborn or whatever, and you're like, how do you even put up with people? A lot of people, and I think this is why a lot of people hate going out, because they're like, I hate people, because they're always
Dude,
so
you don't know what people are going through, so you can't be so judgmental. Like, bro, I work in fucking B2B sales all day. Sometimes I make calls at a time where people aren't expecting to be fucking getting calls, right? And when they answer the call and they act a little rude, I'm like, hey, my bad. Did I catch you at a bad
right.
time? Right? Did I catch you at a bad time? It sounds like, and then it's like when I come from an understanding position, I'm like, I use like a
That's
permission-based opener. Hey, I know I'm calling out of the blue. Did I catch you at a bad time? I know you weren't expecting this call. Like, hey, yeah, some things happen, but what's up? Like, and then they appreciate the understanding element that you can see that they might have come across as rude, but you don't take it personal. You're like, hey, my bad. I know I wasn't, I was called at a time we weren't expecting me. It's now a good time. I want to talk about this. Like, oh, okay, so what's up? And then I talk about it like, yeah, you know what? Actually, let's schedule some time. Let's do it this time. And then boom, boom, boom. So they appreciate the fact that I wasn't so judgmental, right? And people can get that. And when you can understand that we're all human, we all have shit we're doing, bro. Like, there's been so many nights when I've been in field for a game talking to women. And I might talk to a woman. She's like, fuck off, right? And I'm like, okay, my bad. I hope you have a good night, right? And then later on, I found out that girl that just got broken up with from her
right.
boyfriend and was going through all these emotions. And then you begin to understand people. You don't know what that person was going through, so you don't take it personally. You move on because you know what? What you count on is how you come across. The only thing you can
Right.
control is how you are being. The rest you don't worry about. You focus on what you can control, which is your behavior, which is the way you conduct yourself. You conduct yourself the best way that you can. That's all you need to worry about. Because as you do that, the right people are going to recognize it, and the people that treat you rudely, they're going to come back and feel bad because they're human beings too. You know what I mean? They're gonna come back and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry I was rude earlier. You know what I mean? You're actually a great person. I was just going through this and that." Like, "Hey, it's all good. I get it. I go through the same things." And boom, you have understanding. Boom, you have influence. You have likability factor. When you can be human and relate with people from a human level, you know, when
Bro.
someone's calling you out of the blue and like they sound like a salesperson, where someone's calling you, they sound like a human on the other end, right? It makes a big difference. And as your sales and in the game of persuasion, persuasion can be a game or it can be sales, right? In the game of persuasion, when you come across as a human, from a human to human, you talk to someone, and there's a level of understanding, you gain a greater level of likability from talking to that person. You know what I
Hey,
mean, Felipe? Do you have anything to add to that?
dude. Yeah, no, it's like that's game, bro. And like it's like a higher level of game. It's like
That's
when you
exactly it.
know you're a well put person, you to come from the right position, you're offering value, you're just trying to good emotions. Like all
Yes.
these things like how to talk, what to say, and all that, it's just autopilot. It's like easy things. And like you're not worried about you. You're not like, taking everything so personal and like,
Yeah. What am
like
I gonna
being
say? You're not
sorry,
worried about it? Yeah.
you're more worried actually about, okay, what's that other person feeling? Right? You
Yes.
be able to become more calibrated, especially when you talk to enough people, you can calibrate, what kind of person you're talking to. You're like, oh, this kind of this person might be a little bit more sensitive. So I can't just go from 0 to 100 with this person. I have to be a little bit more, strategic per se, right? You have to be, talk a little bit different. And, that's not say to compromise, the person who you are, but I'm saying like, if, you understand your environment, who you're speaking, you're able to, depending on who you're speaking, be able to really adapt
Yeah.
because you're calibrated in a way that, you're able to really match with everyone in a sense, right? And I'm not
You
talking,
adjust and you adapt to
right?
each persona and
I'm
character.
not talking about
Adjust
being
and
friends with
adapt.
everyone, right? Because like there's those people, of course, who you're really are close to you and they know you, your values and everything. But being likable is not just becoming friends with everyone at a deeper level. There's layers. You can be friends with someone and they don't know much about you. That's okay, right? There's different like surface level friendships and one that's those are fun too. You know what I'm saying? Like you can have those friends where you just happen to see out and you just play pool and you just laugh and joke about stupid shit and you don't really touch other topics. That's okay too to have those kind of friendships, right? And then you're gonna have
Exactly.
those friendships. Then and from all those people that you meet eventually, then you're gonna filter out those who you're like, okay, these are the people who I can actually trust and let them know about truly who I am. Which who you are, will be showcased. How you speak and everything, and how you come across. But the thing is, with being likable, dude. Like I think something I couldn't understand for a while. Like I kind of got lost. Like because as a little kid, like I was so unfiltered and whatever, and I made so many friends. And as I was getting older, I noticed, dude, like why is it getting like harder to make friends? Right? I don't know if you noticed. I feel like a lot of people have noticed. It's like the older you get, for some reason, it felt like it got harder to make friends. Like when you were little, you were just kind of like, I like Toy Story. Oh, you like Toy Story too, and you just became best friends. But now it's just like we become more complex as a person, and understanding that complexity, be able to, like I said, put yourself in the shoes comes into play. But a lot of people don't understand it because they don't, like I said, they don't go out enough. So how
Yep.
can you learn about people and get out of your head to really be able to, you know, get yourself in their shoes, understand what they're going and other people and problems, and be able to just be someone who actually offers value and someone they want to listen to. You know what I'm saying? What I want
Exactly.
to ask you something. I have a question for you, which is like, how would you, I guess, recommend someone who, who does who how do I want to put this? How would you recommend someone who maybe has a job and like maybe they don't, I think this is gonna be good. How can someone use being likable at a situation like a job to get a promotion? Or how would you recommend someone who maybe feels stuck at a job, maybe they hate everyone they're working with, they feel combative with their boss? How can maybe they become more likable so they can create a better work environment, or
Mm.
a better job, or perhaps get a promotion? What would you say to them?
Great question, bro. I'm so glad you asked that. I actually, you know what? Like as you were speaking, Felipe, I was thinking about the idea that, when it comes to relationships, to lay it all out as it is, we have, like you said, there's multiple layers to relationships, okay? So for example, there's personal friendships that you have, like you and your brothers, you and your friends, you and the guys that you like hanging out with, right? There's a personal friendships you have. There's romantic relationships that you had. It could be with your partner, it could be with women you have sexual relationships with. It could be that's just the romantic side,
Right.
right? And then there's also work relationships, right? These are the relationships. If you have a 9 to 5, if you have any sort of a corporate job, whether you're earning 6 figures, whether you're a business owner and you're an entrepreneur and you have relationships with clients, right? There's that level of relationship. And then there's the fourth level of relationship, which is, family and acquaintances, like, people you were born with, people you didn't choose to be born into. It's just the
Right.
family you're born into, right? So there's multiple layers to relationships that we have. There's, again, the family you're born into, there's personal friends, whatever people you grew up around, or whoever your boys are, there's romantic, and then there's, of course, professional relationships
Right.
with your work and what you do every day, right? So we have to kind of understand that. And we have to understand when you come from a mature perspective, you understand that in order to interact with someone and be able to have value exchange and have conversation and appreciate someone else's existence, you don't need to agree with everything they say 100%, right? You can understand their perspective. And if you're an open-minded person, you don't immediately judge someone, you fully let them be heard, right? Even though you may disagree, excuse me, with a lot of what they say, right? You can still appreciate the similarities of what they share with what you also have, right? And not only that, but also respect differences and appreciate each person for what they are. So knowing that, if I'm talking, so like for me, it's very, I trained myself to be able to adapt and to be a chameleon, like you were saying, to any personality type, whereas I don't come across as this combative guy that doesn't get along with you. I'm able to quickly adapt and adjust. So one thing that I came across with in Felipe, like when it comes to corporate sales, and I'm going to answer your question when it comes to getting promotions, being more likable as well, right along this line, which is, let's just talk about, your relationship with a client, right? The customer. Okay. I've had moments where, okay, like, in sales, I'm talking and I know for me to be able to start a positive value exchange with somebody, I need to, the person needs to feel like they trust, and they know me, right? Some people really like it when you shoot the shit with them and you have small talk and you're like, hey, how's your day going? Oh, I heard
Right.
this happened in California, this and that. Oh shit, how's this game? Like, I'm not a huge sports guy, but a lot of the salespeople that I know that are all into game, oh, how's the fucking Jets doing? This and that doing. I don't do that shit, but some people do, right? Great. If you know that person, if on their LinkedIn or on their page or wherever they have some sort of a similar interest as you can reference that because that's common ground, right? If there's an area of life that you share similar reality, you share the same point of view as the other person, you can reference it and great. That's great. You both have that in common, right? So really what I want to really get at is even though I might not be a huge sports person, I would just won't talk about that with that person, right? I'll observe, I'll calibrate, and I'll adjust with the personality I'm speaking with. For example, I had a B2B sales call with a personality type. I quickly realized I'm like, hey, how's your day going? I come in always being positive and good energy, right? Hey, how's your day going? Where are you calling out from today, right? He's like, I'm calling from here. I'm calling from this place. You know what I mean? Like I could see this is a person, when you talk B2B, software sales, there's usually a layer of a qualification call, right? And there's the demo, and then there's the POC calls that come after, which leads to the deal being closed. But the initial qualification call is where the discovery questions happen, and it's really like you understand the customer's pain, and then on the demo, you tailor it to the customer's pain, right? So on that initial qualification call, I've had people that really love to shoot the shit and talk about whatever, right? And just be friendly. And there's people that are no bullshit. They want to get to the point and they want
Right.
to cut the crap, right?
Right.
And I had a time where I come across such a character where I was like, the guy was like, listen, I'm gonna cut. So listen, I got on this call to talk about this, right? And I was like, hey, how's your day going? I'm coming all friendly. And the guy's like very strict and no bullshit, right? And I see that. So it's my job as a salesperson to be able to
Right.
recognize that and quickly adjust, right? So I come in all friendly, and the person's like, "Listen, I got on this call for this." I'm like, "Okay, got it." So let me just replay that. You want to know this, this, and this, correct? Got it. Okay, I'm gonna ask you this question to address this and that. Sound good? Okay, great. And I quickly adjust instead of going off on some bullshit that this guy does not give a fuck about. I'm gonna
Right.
quickly address the points that are important to him. All right, how many devices are you managing? How many this and this that? Like specific questions that are related to things he wants to talk about, right? And I quickly address those areas that are important to him instead of, again, talking about bullshit he doesn't care about. Be like, okay, great. I come friendly. He doesn't want that. No problem. Got it. Understood. Okay. And I see here, this is what was important, as you said before, right? Okay. Tell me a little bit more about this, which is important to him. And then he appreciates the fact that I quickly cut the shit and I get to what's important to him. And that comes down to social awareness and calibration, right? If you don't have awareness, you wouldn't be able to quickly adjust and adapt to this character. The rookie salesperson is going to continue going off on bullshit. It's like,
Right.
oh, why is this person not being friendly? I'm trying to be friendly. And like, motherfucker, ask your questions. I'm here to answer your questions so I can get on the damn demo, right? I don't want to go through this fucking conversation with a BDR. I want to get to the goddamn demo, right? So
Right.
ask your questions. I know I'm forced to go through your sales process, but that's what they're going through. I'm like, I'm going to make this quick and easy for you. Not only that, but I'm going to add information you didn't think about. By the way, did you ever consider this? Because it's one thing that I know as a salesperson, right? I want to make sure I come across as someone who's an industry expert. I know what I'm talking about. I'm sharp. I'm enthusiastic, right? Those are some of the things that Jordan Belfort always talks about. You want to be sharp as a tack. You want to be enthusiastic as hell, and you want to be an expert in your field, right? There's a couple of things, and in all my sales calls, for me to acquire trust, right? I want to come across as like, listen, I care, right? I'm an expert on some level, right? If I don't know the answer, I'll get you the answer. Okay? You can trust me because I'm here for your best interest, right? And only that, there's a likability factor. And the likability factor comes from you having the social awareness to adapt and adjust to that person, right? So I quickly did this, right, on one of the calls, and the guy at the end really appreciated it because he quickly got the fact that, hey, I made this quick, and I made you also consider other things because beforehand, I did my research. I know you're a logistics company. I know you're a healthcare company. I know you're an insurance company. And to each industry, and specific areas important to them. So I'm going to address that because before I got on this call with you, I did my homework. I did my part. So now when I'm talking to you, I can address what's important to you. And the person appreciates that. And as a result, those conversations ended up being deals that closed versus when I was much younger, I was talking about shit that didn't matter to them, right? Which comes to addressing their pain, like you were saying, Felipe, right?
Right. Which
So
I really like that you brought that up. About like, there's the people is like, why are we having this conversation? Which is like, I feel like it's very important to, like understand. Cause I feel, when it comes to social interactions, and I'm gonna bring it back to like, work also too. But when it comes to social interactions, a lot of times, like when guys are talking to girls, for example, I feel like the girls, like when the guys are talking to them, it's like the guys are kind of like tiptoe around what they really want. Like they're not having that playful and flirtatious thing. So it's like the girl's like, "Are you trying to hit on me? Like what? Like where are we going with this? Like why are
yeah,
you?"
they're not clear in their
The
intention.
guys are like asking all these
Yeah,
questions, and it's like the vibe's not there. So it's like, which is also like an energetic thing. Like the vibe
I know what
also,
you mean. Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like the girl's kind of like, why are you like even ask? Like the girl feels like, why are you even asking me this?
Hmm.
Like trying to hit on me, not trying to hit on me, like what I'm saying? Because the guy's like, oh, I'm like kind of scared of hitting on her, but I want to hit on her, and the guy's like asking her these
To
questions.
be
Like,
honest, on some level, the girl senses that guy's interest and
wait,
she's
but
almost repulsed at the fact that he can't just come across as
right,
saying it,
right,
right? And you
exactly,
know what that is, Felipe? Like, this is a real good thing to mention in regards to the game. That's when guys open and they don't know how to root the opener. So rooting the opener means
ooh,
giving a reason as to why you're asking that question in the
yeah,
first place. Hey, quick question. I got to get back to my friends before I go. I just need to know, do you think do drunk I love yous count or
right,
is it all bullshit? Well, the reason here's rooting the opener. The reason why I asked this question, me and my friends were having a debate, you know, my buddy there, every time he's known this chick for some time, every time this girl gets drunk, she texts him, I love you. Is that fake or is it bullshit? Like, because you know what the people
right,
say, every time you're drunk, the truth comes out, right? So the routing the opener is giving a reason as to why you're asking. Hey, I just need an opinion. Oh, if you're in a bad mood, no worries. I'll go ask someone else. Right? It's no big deal. But there's a valid reason as to why I'm asking this question. And then it makes perfect sense. But a lot of guys are like, hey, like this and that. Like they say some random fucking opener, but it makes
yes,
no sense as to why they're asking. Okay, like what do you want? You want to talk to me? Are you interested in me? Like it's
right,
not clear to me. Right? I just wanted to know this question. By the way, are you a Libra? Oh, you're not? Oh, you're Sagittarius. Oh, shit. You and I are definitely not going to get along. I'm a fire sign too. I'm a Leo. We're not going to get along. You're too similar. You won't take my shit. I won't take your shit. But you know what? That guy over there is perfect for you, right? You want me to introduce you to that guy, right? And I'm playful. I'm flirtatious. I don't want the girl. If anything, I'm pushing her away to another guy, right? But the fact that I'm so confident, the fact that I'm so fulfilled, the fact that I have so many options intrigues that girl that I'm talking about, right? So if more guys were like this, they weren't so desperate because the number one mistakes guys make is show too much interest too soon. Bro, that girl doesn't know who the fuck you are,
right,
right? She has to learn who you are. So that's the whole art of game is conveying your personality correctly. That's what we teach. That's what we talk about. That's what, all the things that we put out is about. So keep studying, keep learning, and you're going to get there soon. But it comes down to talking with women and understanding how to tell your story effectively, right? The best guys, Felipe, that I see getting laid are the guys that can tell their story real well,
bro.
right?
But dude, like besides just the story, I think like because like a lot of guys, like I say, ask so many questions, it just feels like it's going nowhere. I think it
And you have to be
also
clear in your intention, right? You know what I
I
mean?
think in your tension like comes down like your energy that you're putting out, like the way you come out. I think this is just like
Mhm.
like every level. I think there's like a level of like that helps you like a common ground of energy that's like kind of like just fun, like this playfulness, funness. Like, is she also on the common ground with you? And like
Yes,
into
I love
accept
that
that positive,
calibration.
right? That positive
Yeah.
energy you're bringing. And when she accepts that, then she's like more willing to like invest into you
Mhm.
and give you of her time to be like, okay, what does this guy really want? Because you're being all
Yeah.
playful and shit,
Yeah.
and she kind of wants to stay around and find out. And you start flirting with her, and she kind of like takes it in. She's like, okay, I'm gonna let him like, like
Mhm.
she knows that you're gaming her. She's like, okay, but she likes it. She's like, let's see how he games me. He's fun. And if
Mhm.
I want to bring this back to like work because like something that I've done like in previous jobs, I actually, was in HR, right? I was a HR rep for a little while.
No way. What did you do?
It was like for like Home Depot, bro. I was like a
No
HR.
way. Did HR shit. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, just like
Okay.
like I don't know, like attendance and all that stuff.
That's interesting.
But yeah, everyone like around me was like older than me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm,
you wouldn't imagine that I would have any common ground with them. Like to them, I'm like a baby, right?
yeah,
They're like all
yeah.
grown. They all have like kids. They all have like they're all mostly married and shit. But guess what? They all love me because I always brought good energy and
Yes.
good vibes. And yeah, maybe I didn't perhaps like, had that common ground where like our family and this, but like I always joke around with them and tease them and like I was playful. And through
You
my
related with them on different levels, right?
right through like fun,
Other
'cause
levels.
like
Yeah.
you're at work, you're like, oh, like your energy is draining and shit. So I was refreshing. I was like positive. I was like energetic and funny, and I would make them laugh, and they would like to be around me because they
Yeah.
like that. And so at that level, they were like, yes, because everyone likes having fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But and
Yeah.
in through that, I was able to use that to be able to like learn about different areas of their lives or different interests that they have where we have more common ground, right? Where we can
Mhm.
actually, connect and bond. Maybe is they also play video games and I like playing video, so we can talk about that, right?
Mhm.
Maybe they are competitive at some sort and we can, I
Or
can
maybe
chat.
they love cooking and you're into cooking. Maybe they're about fucking gardening. You're about gardening. Whatever the fuck. Maybe they did video production. You do it. Whatever it is. You never know what you might have in common with someone, right? It
Yeah,
only happens through conversation.
I think it's also like I said, it's not just what we say, it's also how we say it because of how
Mhm.
like our energy, right? That positive energy
Yes.
that we give is like so it's honestly so powerful, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
and
huge.
I mean this because like, bro, when I
It's huge.
first like now think about it, when I first came to America, like I said, I had no idea how to speak English, so I
Yeah.
barely spoke any words. Yet I made so many friends because I was just like good energy. I was just like this funny kid.
Dude, I know
You know
exactly
what
what you
I'm
mean. I've
saying?
seen so many foreigner guys, bro. Like in my experience of game over the last decade, I've seen immigrant guys get really successful when it comes to women. They don't have necessarily the speaking ability, or even the ability to speak the language, but their energy is so much fun. They're dominant, they're playful. Because their energy is right, they can create some sort of a relationship
Yup.
ability to relate with another person where just their energy alone gets the woman attracted, builds comfort, and allows them to have, to have some sort of an intimate bond, right? And so like again, it goes back to say, guys learning game, if you're going out, you're practicing your social skills, you're practicing connecting with other people, even if you don't speak that language, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And there's so many creative ways of still getting your point across. You have this translator. I can literally hold the button on my fucking iPhone and have the translator shortcut and speak what I say in English and have it translate to Spanish, French, whatever fucking language I want, and have that person see it and still be able to get my point across, but through my smile, through my facial expressions, through my
Yeah.
body language, be able to attract the girl, be able to get the girl, right? Or be able to build trust, right? Whatever that thing is, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And I 100% agree with that, bro.
It's like so powerful, dude. Because sometimes like, because like I've done it where like I'm just looking at a girl, I'm just like,
Yeah, it's that cheeky smile, bro. It's always that cheeky smile,
or
dog.
I do something silly, and I'm like, hey, and then she laughs, and she's like, ah, ha, ha. And then just from that, I'm able to just open her and I ask her like whatever, and it's like, and then it just spark attraction. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
Kiss her and like really open up, and then she's like more open to conversation with me. You know what I'm saying? And
100%.
then I can be more flirtatious with it, and she's more open to it versus me just showing up and like, hey, what's your favorite color? And she's like,
Why the fuck you asking me this
yes,
question?
like
Well,
it's like why?
listen, we were just talking. Is khaki a color of fabric? Since you mentioned color, I'm asking you color. There has to be some sort of a reason why you're asking the question, right? And when you become a master of social dynamics, you begin to make sense of every action you're doing makes sense, because you understand you're conveying a certain character, you're portraying a certain character, and everything this guy does makes sense in the context of what he's doing, right? So that's the thing in the game, Felipe, we talk about. It's called character congruency. Congruency,
Right,
a lot
right,
of guys that are incongruent with how they dress, for example. The guy dresses like a bad boy, but he's still carrying that old nerd identity he used to have. Like
right,
they come on boot camp, we could completely transform how they look and appear from the outside, and they still have a bit of that old nerd identity.
right.
And we're like, bro, that's not who you are. You're this bad boy guy that girls actually see you, they acknowledge you, and they want to talk to you. So fucking talk and convey your personality and show them these rich aspects of yourself. And the most beautiful part of boot camp, where we're helping these guys overcome social anxiety, is the moment where we see their true personality come out, right? They actually see, damn, I am enough. Damn, like I'm dressed well, I look good, right? And we went through everything we went through on boot camp. And not only that, but like now we know, like I am enough. Let me just talk to this person. And they talk to the person like, oh shit. Very beautiful women can actually see me for me and want to interact with me and want to talk to me. Holy shit. Maybe I'm not this old loser that I thought I was. Maybe I'm actually this cool guy that a lot of people want to get to know. And they explore that and they see, oh shit, that is me. And then all of a sudden they see girls are attracted to them. People are into them. Other guys want to get to know them. Then their old identity dies. A new identity is born. This new identity is a social guy who's successful, who's got lots of successful friends, who's meeting people regularly, and who's got beautiful women coming to him regularly, right? And then they gradually, step by step, get there. It doesn't happen overnight, but every time they go out, as long as they put themselves into situations where they're uncomfortable, where they dare challenge their old identity, because challenging your old identity requires you to step into a new beingness, right? That new beingness no longer has those old habits. Like we said, you set something in motion, it
Right.
begins to create motion, right? And it begins to create momentum, right? So we have to, again, we're creatures of habit, right? Human beings. I'm sure there's like all kinds of books, Atomic Habits, The Power of Habit. There's so many books around
Right.
habit, just showcasing how we're all subconscious creatures of habit, right? So when we begin to take over that process and program our own lives, we begin to become much more in control of the outcome. Right. So when it comes to overcoming social anxiety, put yourself in the habit of regularly talking to people. When it comes to being a successful salesperson, putting yourself in the habit of doing regular outreach and connecting with people on a human level, right? When it comes to anything, understand what the most successful people have and replicate those things that they do. And that's how I approached it as well. Want to know what you know, Felipe.
I
What are your
actually
thoughts?
all of that you say, I want you to give me your intake in, and I'm gonna share mine first. But kind of like, all of that's like how to get that conversation going and whatnot and create that momentum. But I
Hmm.
guess, you talk about like that motion, right? And
Yeah.
with conversations, I guess, you're great at this. How to really lead a conversation, right? Because you want to become a leader, right? People are attracted
Hmm.
talking to girls, especially talking to a client. People want to be led to, right? So how
Yes.
to become a leader through conversation? What is your take? My take is like, for example, it really depends on who you're speaking to again, right? Like you got to be
Hmm.
calibrated, understanding.
And the
Um,
context is important. Like, what's
right,
the context of the conversation, right?
right. For me, it's like if I like to lead a lot of girls, especially if I'm talking to them, depending on like the level of, I guess, conversation that we're having,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
at the beginning, a lot of times it's going to be fun, right? So I want to lead them through a experience of fun. And through that fun, they're kind of like experiencing me as well, right? And through that experience, I'm going to do things like qualify them, see if they're a good fit for me, right? So I'm going to
Hmm.
ask them certain questions, but also add fun to it, involve into it so they enjoy the process, right? And it's kind of it's a game, right?
Right.
Um, and I think that's very, very important to do, right? So being able to do things like be self-amused is very important,
Hmm.
because if you can't be
Huge.
self-amused, how are you gonna lead that girl to have a fun experience with you, right? Like
Hmm.
you should be the party that she's chasing after, right? It's like, and now she's wondering, can I even get in this party, right? Because you're qualifying her and you're
Mm.
challenging her. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I know exactly what you're
There's
saying.
all these people trying to get into the party, right? And that's how you kind
Hmm.
of want to do when you're out partying or like, at events and whatnot. You want to lead people, right? And have like an angle in mind. Maybe it's also like you want to invite them to, like, this is why it's important to actually have a life, like have things that you can invite people to, right?
Yep.
Maybe
Yep.
on Fridays
Offering
or Saturdays,
value.
you have something, right? Offer value, something that you can offer. So
Yep.
like when you go
Exactly.
talk to that girl or that guy who's playing pool and you want to
Yep.
network with, right? Or that client, figure out what they're into and maybe qualify them and see if maybe they would be a good fit to invite them to, the thing that you're doing next Friday, right? Maybe you have a
Exactly.
thing going on and you can just drop them an invite, right? Be like, hey, by the way, this thing going on, feel free to drop by, right? and you
Yep.
can lead them to that. And that whole conversation, the angle is, hey, I like you, and I want to see if we connect, and see if you'd like to come, and see if you would like to know more about me, and enjoy more of this amazing experience. I'm gonna lead you there, right? And that's how you become a
Hmm.
leader. That's how I would, I like to lead in conversations personally. How about you? How will you, tell someone to be a leader in conversations?
Yeah, I really like what you said there, bro. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a lot of great things. Um, you know, so some of the things that you mentioned there, okay? So you started off talking about being self-amused, right? Being playful and self-amused. You talk about being the prize and offering value.
Right?
Okay? So, your question was, how can someone lead the conversation better, and be able to achieve these things? I mean, it's exactly all a combination of all those things that you mentioned, which is I feel so good inside already. I'm here to now share these good experiences with you. So I'm not here to leech off of your good emotions and feel good myself inside. I'm someone who's already full and feeling good inside. And now I'm here to share it with you and I'm here to interact with you, right? So it's already being enough. It's already knowing that you're enough. And you see this being said a lot in the pickup community, in the dating community, in the red pill space, right? You are enough, you are enough. You hear that a lot, right? Because when you come from a position of not feeling like you're good enough, right? If you feel like you're not enough, you're not gonna come across demonstrating your best or knowing you're gonna, be able to make the other person feel good because you feel like you're not enough, and you're seeking validation. And seeking validation is one of those biggest things. So I would say instead of seeking other people's validation, go out, share good vibes, share good experiences, offer value, right? And let the people that are meant to come into your life, and the people that aren't, not, right? I know I'm not meant for everyone. I'm meant for my people, right? Did you want to add something to that, Felipe?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
made
yeah,
me
go ahead, because I can see that. I can see it.
I just made me really think because, like,
Yeah.
a lot of people, like I said, they're in conversation, and it's like, maybe talk to that beautiful girl, and you're asking her these questions, hoping she likes you, but like you
Exactly.
really don't like this, like really not like you both can feel like this is like really lit in nowhere, and she kind of feels like you're like this leech just trying to like take away from her.
Hmm.
Like you just want to put your dick in her, and she's kind of feel like she kind of feels grossed out, right? Because you're not really leading her. And when you ask her a question or you're trying to have quote unquote fun with her, by what you're saying, it kind of comes across as like you said, validation seeking.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like as a leader, imagine if wherever you're taking whoever's following you, you're like, is it okay if we go here? Wait, should
Hmm.
we go here? Is it okay? And they're like, I don't know, dude. I thought you're taking us to the promised land. Why you
Exactly.
why you
That's exactly how the woman
take,
feels,
take a
right?
left? You're like, what do you mean?
She hates it when you're relying on her to make a decision,
Totally.
right? Like you can always ask her for her feedback. We're not saying be this boss that's like,
Right.
authoritarian and there's no other decision but what I say. That's not at all. But what we are saying is making the woman feel good, specifically in the context of talking to women, right? Hey, baby, we're gonna go here. We're gonna go to this restaurant. After this, we're gonna go see my friend. We're gonna stop by the park and we're gonna come back, like, to the condo
Yes.
here. Okay? Sound good? Okay, let's go do it. Oh, do you want to do something in between? Okay, we'll add that, right? Does it sound good? Okay, let's do it, right? So I tell her, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna do, and
Exactly.
boom, we make it happen. And as it's happening, I'm like, all right, this is done. We're gonna go here now. Sound good? Okay, good, right? But versus, there's been times where I haven't been on point, where I'm like, hey, I wonder we can go here, we can go here, I don't know, we can go here, and she hates it because she's like, just make a decision already so we can
Anxiety,
go
right? You're
into it.
like,
Exactly. She's relying on you as the male energy to make a decision, to stand strong by it, and to follow it through.
dude,
And as
yes.
you follow it through, if an adjustment needs to be made, you're smart enough, you're aware enough to calibrate, to see what's going on, and to make the necessary adjustment for the best end result. And the end result is always what's important to keep in mind, right? A GPS navigation system needs 2 points to get you to where you need to go. It needs to know where it's at in current time, and it needs to know where it wants to go. So, in your mind, when it comes to achieving your goals, know where you're at. Don't lie to yourself, right? Be totally honest to where you're at and give your mind the exact destination as to where you want to go, right? Knowing where you're at and making necessary adjustments along the way to get there, right? And the mind works in incredible ways, right? But people lie to themselves. People aren't honest themselves. They don't know where they're at. They don't want to see where they're at. So they can never really make the necessary adjustments to effectively go from point A to point B when it comes to achieving a goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's very, very powerful, to be honest. I know a lot of people, like, when it comes to achieving that goal, like they're really not honest with themselves, right? They're
That's it.
it's okay to be kind of delusional, because it can be used as a tool, like,
I
like,
get what you're saying on that. Yeah.
but like at some point, at some levels, like, you're actually being delusional because you're not
Yeah.
taking the right actions to move, where you need to go, right? And
Yeah.
you can just see it, right? Like, you're not going anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're really not moving. You're just crazy. Now, when it comes to
Yeah.
conversations, like we were saying, is like, I think people in general just like wants you to be the pilot, that awesome pilot or captain, and they just can just sit back in their seat, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just kind of when you fly an airplane, you just want to be able to, like, sit down for however long and trust that your captain knows where you're going. Imagine you're in the middle of the flight and your captain is like,
Oh, I don't know where we're going. Where are we going,
there's
Ken?
some turbulence ahead. We will be going, we're gonna be turning left.
I
Um,
hope we'll be okay. I'll let you
yeah,
guys know.
imagine,
like,
like,
imagine, like, what the
dude, you'd be
fuck,
like, what?
motherfucker? I want you to know exactly what the fuck you're doing. Imagine your surgeon's uncertain. Like, some motherfucker's doing important
No,
surgery. Like, get the
yeah,
fuck out of here. I
yeah.
want you to know exactly what you do. I don't care if you're friendly or not. I just want to know you're an expert and you know exactly what the fuck you're doing because I trust you to do this damn thing, right? And
That's the
that's how the
power
woman
of a
feels in a
leader,
more
right?
exactly, right? So people trust you for your level of competence to get the job done, right? And the woman's ability to feel attracted to you is dependent upon your competence as a man to survive. Okay. And surviving in the modern day means living and not only living, but thriving and living better than the average man, right? Don't get it twisted. We live in a competitive environment. When it comes to attracting women, when it comes to getting jobs, when it comes to getting clients, there's competition everywhere. But if you're truly the best in what you do, and if you truly are different than other people, and you can outcompete other people, you can win and you can profit massively, right? The masses are encouraged to go towards consume, sleep, fucking like, mate, go to bed, right? It's like what's that entertainment cycle, right? That's I like work, be entertained, sleep, have sex, go to back to bed. You know what I mean? This like the matrix cycle that people go through. That's what I'm trying to refer to here, right? Instead of being part of like a system of just like this regular fucking systematic robotic way of being, be excited in your life, get fucking passionate, right? Do the things you love, spend time with the people you enjoy spending time with, and go after the life that you know you deserve, right? Like life is short, man. Memento mori. That's stoicism. No, you're gonna die. The fact that you're gonna die makes your life worthwhile, right? So you know, those are all things, Felipe, going back to your question, how can you create that like ability, right? As you're talking to people, how can you lead the conversation better, right? It's feeling good, being self-amused, right? It's knowing you're enough, being the prize, right? It's offering value, offering great experiences, and it's not seeking other people's reactions because you're already full and complete on the inside. And if people can internalize some of these concepts, they're going to be able to truly have better social interactions, not just with women, but with clients and with even family and friend relationships, right?
Man, that was that was very well put, man. Like, I'm speechless there. I'm like, wow.
Summarize it all together and to bring it all together here. So, Felipe, is there any final thoughts you have, brother, for us to finish off today's episode? You know,
Yes. My final thoughts, I always like leaving a little sauce for people to do, actual actionable steps.
hell yeah,
I think
I like
something
that.
great that's gonna help you in anyone's life, right? If you wanna actually make a real change in your life in the next, 90 days, is to create that force in your life, to create that momentum, that power in your life so you can move. Because when you have motion, you're gonna have power. So,
Mhm.
go today and write down, a couple goals for this week, for today, and then at the end of each day, just like see which ones you didn't do. And then look back and be like, why did I not do them? And you're going to realize, and I want you to bring awareness to this. you're gonna realize it's probably because of your dopamine monkey on your brain. Your brain's kind of like your little dopamine, right?
It's true.
And you're gonna realize that you were distracted. There
Yeah.
all these other things that are robbing you, right, from your concentration, from your power to focus and do the thing that
Yeah.
you know you needed to do. And the more awareness you bring into it, the more you're gonna be like kind of wake up out of like this like mental like haze that you're this mental like you know
Yeah.
what's it called hypnosis like
Hypnosis. Yeah. That people
hypnosis that
fall
you're
into.
in.
Yeah.
People are like
Yep.
dopamine, right? Like you're hypnotized and you're gonna
Yep.
realize you're gonna wake up and you're like, oh my god, right?
Yep.
And then things are gonna become effortless because you're gonna realize, oh, I just have to do this
Mm-hmm.
again, and then eventually you do it enough that you create that momentum and things
Yeah.
just and you win and you win and just do it again and again and it becomes effortless the more you do. That's why repetition is very important. And become a leader in
Absolutely.
your life. Be likable, go make friends. Like I said, have fun. I think that's always a common ground. Like, everyone wants to have fun, right? Try to
Yeah.
really be a positive character that gives really good emotions and
Brings
create
value to the
fun,
world.
right? Like when you're talking to that beautiful girl, one of the best values that you can bring her while you're, leading her through that
Great time.
conversation of, seeing if she's a good fit for you, see if she wants to come with you somewhere, invite her somewhere out. The one thing that you can offer her while she's on your little trip, as your pilot, give her a little compliment snacks of fun. You know what I'm saying? Like go there
I
enjoying
like that.
some
Yeah.
fun. Give her some challenges,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Right. So
Yep.
she can enjoy it and actually welcome it and be like, you know what? I'm on board with this.
Yep. And
That's
she
my final
remembers
thoughts, man.
all those incredible experiences she had with you. You become almost like a drug through those great emotions that you bring forward, right?
Yeah.
To those times that she gets to share with you. And it's all very powerful, man. I love the way you wrapped it up, man. So, with all that said, guys, episode 8, persuasion, influence, being likable, understanding these qualities and how important it is, guys, are some things that we want you guys to really consider. Check out the links in the description for more information on the programs that you have upcoming in the next couple of months. And guys, we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace out.
Peace.